Welcome back to Educational Currency. I'm Robert Naumoski, founder of Ultimate Jiu-Jitsu and the Coaching College.
And I'm Chris Kalodikis from Maximum Education.
Well, we have a very special guest today, a relative of mine, someone we are very proud of, Natalie Stokowski. Welcome. Come on board.
Hello, Chris and Rob. Thanks for having me.
And what is quite unique, we've got a high-ranking police officer here. So anyone who's interested in, serving the community, and actually she's had quite a remarkable career and quite an interesting one. She's the person to speak to. So Nat, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, where do I start? And thanks, Rob. I don't know if height ranking, but it's a good rank.
Highest relative I have in the police. Highest ranking relative.
It's a good rank where you're still able to be operationally available to your troops. We call them our troops, my constables and everyone else that I work with. And I feel like anything you go higher than that, it becomes a little bit more managerial. So I'm fortunate to be in a position where I am, but I'll start off with, I guess, my career, if that's really want to be where we want to go with this. So I was just telling you guys before, so I came here when I was 15, and obviously I couldn't speak a word of English, so I started going to ESL, the English as a Secondary Language School in Covert. From there, I went to Bethany College, and then my parents moved to Liverpool to help my brother out with his little kids at the time. And I was meant to be going to another Catholic school over there, All Saints, but unfortunately they didn't have anything for me at the time. So I ended up going to a public school and opened my eyes on how free I can be in a public school and what I can and can't do. So I finished year 12 at a public school, and I rebelled a little bit at the time. I was quite rebellious probably up until I was 19. School wasn't a thing for me. I wasn't academically driven, if that's the right word.
Probably not interested, because you are quite academic doing what you do.
At the time I wasn't interested, and maybe because I just wasn't enjoying it.
And the amount of transition you're going through in life as well.
Yeah, new friends, new country. I couldn't speak the language. So that's all where that came from. And probably my first ever interaction with police came as a delinquent teenager, I would say. And I tell this story quite often when I first started. So when I first joined the police force in 2010 at 25, we were having an induction day, and one of the sergeants was doing a presentation to the new constables that are joining the police force, and I recognised him. He was a sergeant that I had dealt with when I was quite young, and he knew the potential in me, and he was so lovely that every time I would do something silly, instead of arresting me, he would bring me home to my parents. He would drive me home in the paddy wagon. So what would that mean is I would get more in trouble from my parents than I would from the police, but that's not here nor there. And this is all on record, so the police know about my delinquent past. I'm not getting fired. It's not breaking news. And he recognised me, and I didn't know if he recognised me or he just he was looking at me the whole time, and he's like, "Where do I know you from?" Obviously, years had passed, and I was 25 by this stage, and I'm thinking, it's my first day in the police. Do I start with lying, or do I just tell him where I know him from? So anyway, I've told him where he knew me, and he was just so proud of how far I had come from where I was, and I'm still friends with him till this day. So that's how my police career started. I started off at Liverpool Police Area Command. I did uniform policing there for a couple of years. I had really good bosses at the time. I learned a lot of foundational policing in general duties, where we were exposed to a lot of domestic violence, traffic accidents and things like that, everyday things that uniform police respond to. But I was very fortunate to have really old school sergeants that were able to teach me about respect, able to teach me how to treat everyone with respect, no matter where they came from in life, and just being able to communicate with people. Because the biggest thing that you find in the police force and the biggest defense tactic that you have is your communication. So you can have a firearm, you can have an OC spray, you can have everything else. But if you're able to communicate with someone, you can really de-escalate a situation. From there, I started my criminal investigation career in 2014. I was able to obtain a criminal investigation spot in KMC. So I was there for 6 years. I was designated as a detective in 2016, in and around there, because it takes a little bit of time to become a detective. So KMC was a really good learning curve for me, because you were exposed to different crime type to Liverpool. So KMC is obviously known for a lot of terrorism, a lot of high, you've got the mosque there, so a different demographic. You're dealing with different people and different clientele, as we call it. But I was also exposed to very serious crimes. So you had a lot of your homicides, your robberies, your kidnapping, your extortions. There I was able to learn the fundamentals of having complex investigations. So we're going from simple investigations to now very complex investigation. And while I was there, I was really I guess drawn to homicide investigations. I liked being able to solve rather complex matters. There's, when you think of the world, there's nothing worse than someone taking someone else's life. So that's where I thought my life and my career was going to go. And in 2019 or 2020, I don't recall, I'm getting old at the moment, a job became advertised for child exploitation internet unit. It was such a niche place that it was very difficult to get a position in that unit, because people that were there, that had been there for a long time, and people weren't moving on. But in 2020, I was very fortunate to secure a position at child exploitation as a detective senior constable at the time. And in 2022, I was promoted to detective sergeant.
Congratulations.
So that's my career in a nutshell.
It's very interesting to go, from 25 years old. Like we tell all the high school kids, you don't need to figure it out in year 12. You don't.
It's not linear. Careers don't have to be linear. I didn't think at 18 that I'm going to have my life mapped out, that I'm going to have my career mapped out. I wanted to join the police force, and I wanted to join the police force quite young, but obviously being a female, my parents were a little bit against it, because they thought the dangers that are associated with it. But policing isn't that dangerous. When we think of policing, we obviously associate it with American policing and overseas. We're not there. We're quite safe on a scale of things. So it's a challenging job. It can be dangerous, of course, but it's not as dangerous as what my father perceived it to be.
Our parents are immigrants, so they're perceiving what they see in the news.
Correct.
And the news paints a picture of it.
And comparing to the old country too, and how it operated over there.
And you're a female, so I guess being immigrants, there's different roles and responsibilities for different genders. And policing wasn't a responsibility of a thing. And another funny story is when I actually, there was a between my ages of 21 and 24, some unfortunate personal events in my life that I won't go into. But when that part of my life completed, I applied for the police force and I didn't tell anyone. I got my letter on the Friday and I went home and I said to Mum and Dad, I said, I'm going to Goulburn on Sunday. They're like, what do you mean you go to Goulburn on Sunday? I said, I've been accepted in the academy, so I'm going to the police academy.
So was that the turnaround? Like, here's the letter, and then later in the week?
It took me a long time.
Actually, you told me 9 months before we were training for it.
We were training, but they weren't aware that I was joining for the police force because, again, I didn't want to have that fight. It took a long time to join the police force. It wasn't like an overnight thing, but I redirected all my mail to my work. So any correspondence that I received was at work. And then as soon as I got my letter of acceptance, they said, and it was a big class. It was a parliamentary intake class in 2010. there was 700 of us that went at the same time. So, yeah, I got my letter on the Friday and I was meant to be at Goulburn not the Sunday, so a week later on the Sunday. So I was like, I'm going.
Yeah, wow. And how long would you have been down there for?
So I was there for 8 months. So the training, it's changed now. It's changed to how I did it. But I was there for 8 months. And then I came out as a probationary constable at Liverpool after 8 months. I didn't do any university degrees or anything to join the police force. So I joined, you can, if you wish to. There is degrees available to you should you wish to do that. But I didn't do a university degree to join the police force. I literally just went in as a recruit.
No, it's good. And so at what point did they say, this is my daughter, they're proud now?
Now they're proud.
They're super proud now.
Yeah, they're super proud.
I will follow everything you do and everyone's like, hey.
The big photo, the graduation photo is framed. It's the only big frame in the house. So
beautiful.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
And then as you went to detective, was there further training? Did you have to do further study to get that title?
Yeah, so the detective's training is like a secondary tertiary education thing that you get exposed to. It's a year. It's, again, changed, but when I was doing it, it was a year. So a lot of that time you spent in Goulburn for a lot of classes and presentations from different departments. Yeah. Back to Goulburn. I don't mind Goulburn at all.
Lovely part of the world.
It's quite cold, but it's not a bad place. Yeah. Everything's there. And then you obviously submit a lot of your work for them to check to make sure that you're adequately available to do the role that you're doing or you're up to scratch. So once all of that is signed off, then you become a detective, you have your graduation. It's a really proud moment, your graduation as a detective, and you get the rank of a detective or the title of a detective. And no matter where you go in the police, once you get designated as a detective, that's not you don't lose that. Your detective designation, you don't lose.
So what are the ranks for police?
So you start off as a probationary constable for a year, and considering if you pass everything that you do, then you become a constable after a year. So that's when you get your first stripe. At 5 years, again, if you've done everything that you meant to, you get your second stripe. And then after 5 years, you become a senior constable, and then anything over senior constable, I think, don't quote me on it, but I believe it's after 7 years you can start your progression and your promotion process. So 7 years is very young in the police to go for promotion, because once you become a sergeant, you're not only dealing with the operational stuff, you're dealing with people management, you're dealing with complaints matters, and it's a lot different to just investigating matters. So you have to be quite prepared to have all of those skills. And people management is probably one of the hardest things to deal with. So
sounds almost like a corporate CEO to a point.
You're
dealing with structure, policies,
and
everything else,
Yeah.
Ticking off all the paperwork. And
and everything has to be in line with policies and procedures in the New South Wales Police. And, breach of any of those policies could lead you in hot water. So
that's good. So how's so you stepped into your new unit in 2019?
Yep. 2020.
2020. So middle of COVID.
Middle of COVID.
Middle of COVID.
Yeah.
So
middle of COVID.
So what was it like in the child protection? What did you see that you didn't expect in terms of the policing?
Well, this was a totally new world for me. Nothing that you do outside of child exploitation, about child exploitation, if that makes sense. Like me being at KMC, even though we would have done a lot of child abuse matters or persons possessing child abuse material, you're not actively involved in the investigation of child exploitation, because it's a specialist role. You have to be trained on the job training to be able to investigate these matters. What we found in COVID, we found an extreme rise in the grooming and procuring of children, because everyone was at home. Everyone was behind a computer. So I guess that probably opened up. And don't get me wrong, a lot of that would have happened prior to that. It's just it was seen at a bigger scale once COVID hit.
And what do you mean by grooming? Like as parents watching it and as kids watching it at home now, so most of our audience will be, say, high school kids, year 7, and parents. What is the process, and when you say grooming, break it down for a layman person. What does it involve?
Grooming involves opportunities. Opportunities where children are exposed to sexualized behaviors that wouldn't otherwise be exposed to. So there's different types of grooming, and when we're looking at it from analytical way, if we're looking at females get groomed differently to how males get groomed. And when we talk to parents, we tell them to watch for certain things that might not individually might not look like grooming, but put together they're quite risky. So how offenders groom, and they're sophisticated. They look for opportunities. They look for things where trust can be penetrated within the household. They look at for vulnerabilities in the children. So if, a lot of the times when I do these presentations, I say to parents, you wouldn't allow a stranger off the street to come and sit down on your child's bed and have a private conversation, but we're allowing a device into the bed for strangers to have those conversations with those children. And how they might start off with something really small like, oh, you're so beautiful, please show me a photo of you. But a lot of the times these are opportunities driven. So these offenders like to know who is around. So as kids, we potentially invite these offenders into our lives.
I'm assuming that's through social media.
It's always on social media. So a lot of these offenders are on, and when we're thinking, they're not sophisticated, they're not running, and some are. There are sophisticated rings out there that are actively grooming kids for financial gains, for solicitation of child abuse material. And they run a script. The script is always the same. When it comes to females, they would attempt to gain photographs of them, so nudified photographs of them.
And the child's so vulnerable, they send the photos?
They do. They do. And once the photo is sent, that's when it opens the door for requests for more photos. So that's when the kid becomes even more vulnerable, because that's when the threats start happening. If you don't send me X, Y, and Z, I'm going to send what you have sent to all your friends on Facebook. So what we're finding with our females is the grooming is more sexually motivated. So they want those nude photographs, they want those nudified conversations, those sexual conversations. And then in turn, the male grooming is more of a financial gain. So they will use the female photographs that they've taken to groom a male into thinking that this male is talking to a pretty girl, a pretty 13-year-old girl. But in fact, it's probably some really old man sitting behind a computer. And then they would exchange photographs for financial gain. So let's say this girl sends them a photo, and then the boy sends a nude photograph of themselves, and that's when the financial requests come through.
I say to bribe. They actually sounds like they're bribing them, or they're exploiting them.
Both.
And then the child sends the money.
They're like charging a ransom.
Yes. Yeah. And then they will continuously send money. First it might be $20, it might be $50. Then it'll be send me a $100 gift card, send me a $200 gift card. If you don't do this, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. So therefore, children get so scared that they continuously
send the money.
And
they just send the money via mail, or?
It's usually gift. A lot of the times would be gift cards, PayPal, Pay ID. Anything.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And how old's the child to be able to do that?
Anything from 10 years old to 18.
That's scary.
Yeah,
when you think of
There's sickos at multiple levels. So it's not just the images and the graphics; it's the financial extortion too. Because that's what we don't hear about much.
That's something. We're always thinking some sick, perverted person. This is actually exploitation for money.
Yeah,
it's exploitation for everything.
Yeah.
So they've got ways of being able to benefit both. So you've got the offenders, obviously, you've got the offenders who are genuinely attracted in children, who genuinely want to have a sexual relationship with a child. So that's when the grooming of children becomes prevalent. But we also have, on the flip side, the financial grooming and the sextortions and the capping. I don't know if you guys have heard of capping.
No, what's capping?
Well, it's pretty much when they write a dossier on of this person, when they have all the available information that they can freely get on social media. So I might add you on Instagram and get all your family photos, all everything that you've been, and I keep a little dossier of you, and I say, I know X, Y, and Z about you, and if you don't do X, Y, and Z, I will do this to you.
It becomes more physical criminal then.
Yes. And we have had instances where, unfortunately, children have taken their own lives because of these things that have happened.
Are these people based in Australia? Because it sounds like you can do that from anywhere around the world.
Well, offenders are anywhere in the world.
Wow.
It could be Australian offenders. It could be European offenders. It could be anywhere in the world. It doesn't, with the availability of the internet and the click of a finger on your phone or device, you can access anyone and everyone.
Because now I remember our principal, as given parents, it's like an app, and you can see what your kids are doing. And through that app, you can say, hey, you're communicating with such and such, or your time on Facebook is such and such. Any text or anything they send, it comes up. And as a parent, you can check up on your 13, 14-year-old and say, hey, that's too much of a conversation, go back to bed.
Yeah. But kids are very intelligent.
Yeah, they can bypass.
Yeah.
So, the E-Safety Commissioner is doing fantastic work. We're trying to implement all these different digital things where you need identifications and verification and things like that. But kids bypass that. I had a kid a couple of weeks ago tell me they were on Instagram, and I said, well, how did you bypass X, Y, and Z? And she's like, I just went onto YouTube and I found a video of someone and just used their face.
That easy.
Yeah.
Then how do you build a case on arresting someone like this? Because it sounds more complicated than someone actually wanting physical contact.
Especially that global element too that you're facing when you're trying to get these people that could be anywhere.
Yeah, so we're very fortunate that we work with national and international partners in this world, in this work, so to speak. So I can contact anyone anywhere in the world that works in this type of field. And if I've identified a child anywhere in the world, I can contact them and say, this kid is in your jurisdiction, this is their details, please safeguard him in a way possible. How we do our investigations and how we do our arrest, like I said, it's a specialised unit. We have 4 detective sergeants in my unit and we have 20 constables. We work covertly and overtly online, both online and obviously in person when we do the arrests. But we purport to be children online, and this is widely known, so it's not anything that I speak out of school. So we often purport to be children online and allow these offenders to groom us. And the main goal, obviously, is to arrest them, because if they're talking to us, they're talking to so many other children. But if we can safeguard a child from being abused and that abuse is occurring against us, then that's a win.
Yeah.
And the courts allow that as evidence.
Yeah, it works. I can't go too much into detail how the ins and outs of the courts, but we are allowed to work under special authorities to be able to do that.
Yes.
Yeah, and that is evidence for someone actually grooming someone.
Yes.
Even though the person's fake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That still has a leeway in court to say
The
yes.
legislation itself allows it for that.
Good.
Yeah.
And that's good.
And I know, obviously it's a very sensitive area too, but could you allude to maybe what your biggest win has looked like? Have you ever caught a ring or multiple people, some sort of network, or you can't go down that avenue?
I can both. And, when we're talking about wins, a lot of people want to know about the arrests. And yes, we do a lot of arrests, and there's nothing more satisfying, I always say, than arresting a pedophile or putting handcuffs on a pedophile. But what is more satisfying is safeguarding a child that no one knew they were at risk. Yeah. So if we can save one kid, then my job's done.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of investigations, and this was in the news a couple of weeks ago. My office, just a young constable on my team, conducted an investigation that resulted in we took out a very, very large key player internationally who was actively abusing children online, and we were able to make referrals for over 200 offenders worldwide. And when you think about it, 200 is not a lot of people in how big the population is. But think about how many kids they could have abused.
Yeah, 200 is a lot. I think that's amazing.
And we removed a lot of kids from harm. So
that's good.
And let me know if I'm getting too cliche.
No.
Is a lot of this happen through like the dark web or like normal internet?
Not at all. Yeah. People think the darknet is dark. It's slowly, it's there.
Yeah.
But we're finding a lot of the abuse is more on the encrypted apps, on the normal apps that people day to day use, on your Instagrams, on Snapchat, on the platforms, just the normal platforms that children use. There's nothing sophisticated about it.
Yeah, because with that, like I've heard, like Roblox can even be used as a grooming tactic.
Yes,
and
it is.
Yeah.
Don't let your children have Roblox.
So always when the public thinks about a police officer, highly involved in child protection, we're thinking actually removing children, getting in there and actually physically saving a child that could have an actual predator physically onto them. Does that happen more often, or you're more in the case of Australia, is that prevalent?
Yeah, it's very prevalent. Obviously, it's not widely spoken about because we have to protect the identity of the children. So the public wouldn't overtly know about how often this happens. And obviously, for privacy reasons, we can't go into how many offenders we arrest when it comes to those type of, we call them contact offences. But we have to remember that offenders thrive on trust. So they will create trusted relationships with parents, with children, and they might look like a friendship to them. It might look like a supportive next door neighbour, but they're there because they found an opportunity to abuse the child. So they're not only grooming the children, they're also grooming the families into believing that they're a good person. That's why we're finding a lot of persons in authority and people that are placing themselves, even in the police force, it doesn't discriminate any job description. They will position themselves in a position of trust where they will have access to the children, and the families are none the wiser. And this is not to blame any parent, because they believe a teacher, they believe a principal, they believe a doctor, they believe a police officer to do the right thing with their children. But in fact, these like-minded people would actually put themselves in that position to be able to have access to the child.
So for us, as we work as teachers, what should we keep an eye on each other for? So if you've got a colleague or anyone, not saying to be suspicious of everyone, but are there any signs or any cues where, you can turn around and let us know just keep an eye on? It's probably nothing, but you never know. What would you recommend?
So from my own personal experience and the investigations that we've done so far, and being able to interview colleagues of offenders that we've arrested, it's always the same theme always comes up, and it's, they were a little bit too close to the students. They were too friendly with the students. They were communicating with the students outside of school hours. And obviously, I'm not privy to what the policies and procedures are when it comes to the education department, or how much you're allowed to have contact with children outside of school. But I would assume that a teacher should not have the child's mobile number and communicate with them on Snapchat.
We can't even have a coffee.
Yeah.
So literally, if you're teaching a child in a class, you do not have a sit-down coffee and a conversation outside of school.
You shouldn't be adding your students on Snapchat. Yeah. You shouldn't have their mums on Instagram. Like, that to me would be a big red flag. Am I looking at it from a policing lens? Potentially, but that would probably be some of the things that I will look for. Just teachers that are overly friendly, I don't like using the word flirtatious, but there's a fine line between having that relationship with a child where you're like their educator, you're their trusted mentor, and then kind of pushing that line. I think a lot of times as adults, if something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't.
And I think tangenting on that from the teacher side, then how about with our parent hat on too? Because you've kind of now highlighted two sources of this coming. There's an online source, and then there's the trusted people we know. What can be safety signs we look from with our parent hat on?
I think we just need to have open conversations with our children. The first thing, and I know, previously when a child gets in trouble for, let's say they've done something on the phone, what is the first thing that the parent does? You remove their phone away from them. You take their phone as punishment. But that's their source of communication with their friends. So what you're saying there is, you've done the wrong thing, so now I'm going to remove the one thing that connects you to your friends. I'm not saying to let them continue to keeping the phone and continue doing it, but I think being able to be honest and open with your children and for them to be able to come to you no matter what happens online. We all stuff up. We all make mistakes, but for them to be able to have that connection and safety with their family and mum and dad or mum or dad or whoever it is, and say, hey, this is what's happening to me on the internet. What can I do? So that would be just having an open and honest conversation with your children. Don't get angry when they tell you. The way you respond the first time they tell you is a blueprint of how they're going to continue telling you if anything else happens in their life. Because if you can respond with emotion, they withdraw. Children withdraw, as you guys know. If you don't believe them, they will never tell you again. So how we respond to the first time they report is really, really important.
Yeah.
How do you open the door for them to report from your experience?
The children?
Yeah.
Just being able to tell them that, obviously, I love you, I trust you, no matter what happens on the internet. You might be in trouble, there might be consequences, but your safety is a lot more important to me than whatever happens after this. So please come and tell me what's going on. If something doesn't feel right, if someone is saying inappropriate things to you, what's right and what's wrong, who they're allowed to talk to, what is a okay conversation to have, are they being contacted by someone that they don't know and it's asking for, selfies of them, it's asking for photographs of them in underwear. That's not a normal behavior. And if someone does that, please come and tell me. I won't be angry or will be angry. Just don't promise things that you can't deliver, but also don't go into defense mode and just restrict them from everything, because they'll never tell you anything ever again. And you guys know that.
Yeah, you really want to know.
Yeah.
Like you really want to get down to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
So
I was just going to say as well, like that's the child that's forthcoming. What about the child that isn't, and you're a parent that may be observing something? Is there any red flags in like the apps the child may be using? Like I know we mentioned roadblocks. Like what might be things a parent is observing? Like, should I be worried about this?
A lot of the times there's no really I'd probably say a combination of things. So a lot of the times kids, as you guys know, would become withdrawn if things are happening like that. They're doing things out of character. They're being more secretive with their phone. Unexplained gifts, unexplained access to funds that they might have, because sometimes these offenders would send them money for images. They'll send them gifts. So, being secretive with their phone, not wanting to do things that they might have really enjoyed doing in the past, being really closed off, really secretive. And it doesn't necessarily have to be you that they disclose it to, as long as they tell someone. I trusted, and the thing that I always say, trusted people don't keep secrets. So whoever they tell, as long as they're okay with that person that they're telling.
Yeah, because teachers will become mandatory reporters.
Yeah, you are.
Straight away. So it's one of those things, if a child feels comfortable enough and mentions anything to me, that's straight to the wellbeing team.
Yeah, and you have to tell them that that's happening. Explain the process to them. again, don't promise them anything. Don't investigate the matter. Don't ask too many questions. Just let them talk. Let them tell you what happened, and then whatever information you get, just report it to the wellbeing unit. It then gets transferred to the joint response unit, and we might get the referral to us.
So at what point do you take interest in it? How far does it need to go down where it lands on your table?
Doesn't need to go far at all. If we have information that a child is being groomed online, there's different mechanisms that we can use to assist that child. If they know the offender, if the offender's easily identifiable, we act on intelligence, and there's no scale of how bad it has to be for us to act. A groomed child is a groomed child. There's no level of bad or good.
And at what age is the person considered no longer a child?
18. So in the state of New South Wales, under the Commonwealth legislation not long ago, under the Commonwealth legislation, it's always been a child is under the age of 18. With our state offences, when we're talking about child exploitation matters or child abuse material, the child had to be under the age of 16. We've been very lucky, which legislative changes. Now a child in Australia, in New South Wales, is a child under the age of 18. It's a little bit confusing because the age of consent is 16. But when we're talking about online stuff and child abuse material, we're talking about a child is 18.
18.
Yep.
So any image, even if the child was 17, the image is taken.
Yep.
And,
it's still child
and that
abuse.
child can be 20. It's still an image of a 17-year-old.
Yep.
And I think a point that we have to highlight to our students in school sometimes, an offender doesn't always have to be over 18, do they? Like if someone gets an image and they pass it on, they're distributing.
Yeah,
and
child abuse material.
Yeah,
yes. Yep.
I think that's something young people need to be aware of.
Yeah, because we've been, especially, telling our late teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
It could be funny, and then you end up in front of a courtroom.
Exactly.
You do, and there's a lot of restrictions that could be imposed on you being on the child protection register, and then that's got massive not circumstances, but it has detrimental effect on your life after that, because working with children's stroke is gone. You can no longer work in anywhere that's got any meaningful output because everyone does working with children's strokes these days.
So just the boys that are listening, you've got a girlfriend, you're 16, 17, and you're asking her for images. You share them with your friends. Could you be prosecuted later on when you're an adult?
Yep.
So the years can pass by and you could still end up in court.
Yep. You will be dealt with differently depending on how old you were when the offence took place. And obviously when we're talking, and not to go too much into legislation, but when we're talking about children under the age of 18, there's different restrictions and there's different approvals that we have to go through the Department of Public Prosecution, the justice system. So because they are under 18, so they're not treated as an adult. And if the offence happened when they were under the age of 18, it's treated a little bit different than if they're an adult. However, it still will have very bad
implications.
Because you go from 17 to 18 in
a second.
Second.
Overnight.
So you could be doing that and then turn 18, and then it's a very different court case.
Yeah, and you're not only dealing with the child abuse matters, you're dealing with obviously the release of the sharing of intimate images and things like that. So there's different, it's not just those offences you have to worry about. There's different offences.
Yeah, so that's eye-opening as well. Like it's different coming from the teachers, because every time we talk about it, and they're just, here we go again.
Yeah.
They're lecturing us, but coming from someone who actually come and arrest you.
Exactly.
hits home a little better.
Yeah.
Of course. And I guess you mentioned that you kind of came into the role around COVID time, and I don't know if there's been much change that you've seen over those 6 years, but how has possibly technology impacted? Like we've mentioned social media and all that, but then you've also brought up that whole reading online profiles and then, developing the capping on the young people. Is that potentially going to get worse with like use of AI, like because they can skim the internet and find things out? Like, can you see the growth in these negative things?
Technology is evolving.
Yeah.
So technology is always going to evolve, and we have to learn how to move with technology, because if we are staying still, we're going to lose the battle with technology, especially with AI. AI is rapidly changing. It's here. It's here to stay. And that's where we're finding really big issues with AI, because with a click of 3 seconds, I can create a nude image of any child. I can take a very innocent photograph and then turn it into a nudified image.
There's that deepfake technology.
Technology.
Celebrities talk about it too, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is massive at the moment. We're having really big issue, not just Australia-wide, it's a worldwide issue. And I don't have the answer on how we tackle that. I think we just have to be aware that it's happening. We have to be prepared that if it does happen, how to respond to it and how to deal with it. And there's a lot of different, like the eSafety Commissioner has a lot of useful links on how to remove deepfakes, the resources that are available to children, a lot of counselling service if this does happen. But unfortunately, AI is here and it's here to stay, and it's only going to get worse as the days progress, which also is a challenge for investigators.
But I'm assuming you could be charged as well. Like if you're if you're creating that deep fake and it looks like a child and it's sexually explicit material, is it the same or
it's exactly the same? So you're basically creating child abuse material. So irrelevant of whether it's deep fake or real child abuse material, it's still child abuse material. There's different categories. Obviously, if it's a real child, it's a different category to AI created child abuse material. But in terms of what happens to you once you get charged or sentenced, it doesn't really matter whether, it was a deep fake or a real child.
Yeah. And I think that shows as well, like, children just sharing a headshot is risky online.
They don't even need to share it, and that is the problem.
Yeah.
If they're just friends with someone that they don't know on Instagram and they have just normal images of their family gone to Paris and had a holiday in middle of winter wearing ski outfit, they can turn that into a nudified image. All they need is just their head. So that's why we have to be very careful what we post.
So no social media for your kids at all.
Ever.
This is what they're coming.
Turn it off.
Yes. Didn't they say under 16? I think my daughter started to get a little bit worried with that Snapchat.
Yes.
Yeah.
With the streaks, and we removed it.
Yes.
We went, okay, just delete those photos, store the ones you have, and it's done. It seems to be that also gives you that like that addictive dopamine hit, and you want to keep your streaks. And I went, what's happening? You just got your phone and you're stressed out that you've lost it for a day.
But this is what we go back to. She's worried about losing friends. Imagine if, knock on wood, anything bad happened to her, how worried she would be to be able to tell you. So, that's...
Now, worried about losing a streak with her friend.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you went, what the hell is this? Generation X.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're so lucky we didn't have phones when we were growing.
Yeah, well, they've proven that, the impact that it has on this generation, the links to mental health.
It does.
Yeah.
Just straight away, a whole world opens up to you. It's not a good one. Sometimes it's the dark part of the world that we're worried about.
Well, strangers come into your bedroom through a click of a finger.
Then also, what about our worst fears? Like, for example, someone physically hurting a child. Like that, as a parent, when you look at child protection, the first thing that comes to mind is us, me and my wife were watching the movie Sound of Freedom, and it basically looked like, this is what Nat does for a living. Yeah. Like, I didn't realize this much of your job was involved actually on the internet. Because so from your experiences, how much of that do you guys arrest? Or is it prevalent around? Or?
So my unit mostly does online exploitation. So we're the only proactive arm in the New South Wales Police that actively tries to prevent harm from happening. What the New South Wales Police also has is the child abuse units. So they deal with they're the reactive. So we're the proactive form, they're the reactive form of investigations. They're the ones that investigate matters once they've happened. So once the child has been physically abused by an offender. So all the arrests for contact offending, we would say, happen by the child abuse units. There's no borders, there's no boundaries when it comes to these type of matters. So if we do come across an investigation that is online investigation, but it has a contact offence element, we would do the entire job. We're trained to interview children. We're trained to investigate those matters as well. So, but our main focus and our charter per se is the online exploitation and a proactive arm of trying to stop these offenders before they offend against a real child.
So that's fantastic what you do. So you can shut them down before they even begin to abuse.
That is the main goal of our unit, is to proactively stop them from abusing a child.
And statistically, you're obviously busy, you're doing a lot of arrests, but has it actually bring the stats down of children being abused? Or
I honestly wouldn't be able to tell you. I don't have those stats available to me. But what we do know is it's very prevalent. It's happening every single day. And I think we're just scraping the surface.
Yeah, that's
scary.
Thought, yeah.
Especially you saying they're just scraping the surface and you do so many arrests.
Yeah.
But I like the way you said it too. Like, when you're doing your job and you do it well, you're technically saving 2 lives. Like, you're protecting the child and you're stopping someone from making some big, bad decisions, hopefully.
Yeah. And the way you respond to that child or remove that child, it really could change the trajectory of their life and how they end up living their life once this happened.
Oh, wow. So you basically protect us from our worst nightmares.
Yeah.
Not you, Rob, because you're too old.
No. As a parent, we're talking a parent's worst nightmare.
And it is parents' worst nightmare, absolutely. Yeah. And when people say, oh, how do you do this work? And that's exactly why I do this work, because it's got purpose, it's got a meaning, and you have to have a lot of resilience to do this work, but you have to also have a lot of integrity, because people need to trust you to be able to do this job. And when I knock on someone's door at 9 p.m. to tell them that their daughter is being exploited online, I need them to be able to trust me to give me the information that I need.
Yeah. I guess, I could imagine that conversation too, because as parents, when anything happens, we reflect on ourselves initially. Yeah. Have I done something wrong too? And really what you want to get to is, how do we best protect your child?
Correct.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense.
And it's to never blame a parent. All parents are trying to do their best in a world that they're navigating that they never knew about.
Yes. Some parents are like, Nat, can I just borrow your gun?
Really
crawls, really crawls under your skin. Right?
But that's we try. We give it a best shot. Everyone that I work with wants to be there, wants to do the right thing, and they really want to protect children and safeguard kids. We have a victim identification team that I haven't spoken about, but their main goal and their main analytical outcome daily is reviewing child abuse material and try to identify children that haven't been identified. So not necessarily children from Australia. There could be all over the world. It was only a couple of weeks ago, and obviously I won't mention the names, but we located, it was Eastern Europe, it was close to our homeland. We located 2 children who had been kidnapped from a different country. They were being sexually exploited in the country, and we were able to identify those kids and return them to their mum.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
From New South Wales.
Wow. And you're working with Interpol?
Interpol, we're working with everyone. We work with FBI, we work with HSI, with Interpol, with Europol, you name it, with the AFP.
That's good.
But that's the level where it's at trafficking, isn't it? Like, that's the definition there, isn't it?
Because there's no child exploitation, there's no border of child exploitation. Yeah. If we're talking about common assault, when you're dealing with like New South Wales offences, unless someone is in New South Wales border and they jump over to Victoria and the offence kind of happens on the border, you're like, whatever, is Victoria going to do this job? Is New South Wales going to do this job? But when you have a child exploitation matter, it doesn't matter. I could have a child in Zimbabwe right now and I would do everything to try to identify that child.
That's good.
And I was going to say, and look, just in our role as teachers too, if you're in a teacher situation and either a child discloses something or you suspect something, what would you recommend to the teacher to do? Who would you recommend they contact, or the school should contact?
Of course, you guys have the mandatory reporting.
Yes.
And obviously different. I'm not overly aware of how your, counselling works and all of that. But parents need to know.
Yep.
Parents definitely, we can't keep these things from the parents. But parents, guardians, whoever trusted adults in a child's life. But be honest to that kid, with that child, and tell them that you have to disclose this information. You can't keep it a secret, and you're doing it out of their best interest. You're not doing it to be, get them in trouble or be mean or get their devices removed. You're genuinely doing it because you want to save them and protect them from being further abused. So that's, you can also, if there's any images that they know about, that their images are being shared online, you can obviously eSafety, again, mention the eSafety Commissioner. You can take those images down if you have the URLs available, give them a lot of supporting. And, I'm sure you guys have all of those, but I can share a lot of resources that are available to children to contact anonymously if they want to speak to a counsellor or anyone like that.
Yeah. And in my past instances in schools, eSafety Commissioner is your go-to, isn't it? Yeah. For families, they're your number one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
eSafety Commissioner, they've got all the resources available on how to have a conversation with your child about different platforms, how to seek support from different avenues. Because me as a police officer, if I turned up to the door, I'm looking at it from a policing perspective. I'm trying to gain the evidence. It's maybe more of a sterile environment than them speaking to a counsellor. So...
Yeah, speaking of counselling, how do you guys just unwind with all this? It seems pretty intense, heavy images and everything else. Like psychologically, what do you guys do to
I think you have
normalise again? Sorry.
Yeah, so we've got mandatory counselling services that we attend to every quarter, so to speak, and we have a plethora of different services that are available through the New South Wales Police for mental health and these type of matters. But I think your own resilience plays the biggest part. No matter what service is available, you have to be the one to say, I've had enough. This is enough for me. I need to walk away. I used the analogy of a roller door. So when I leave work, that roller door closes behind me, and everything that happens in that office, as hard and heartbreaking as it is, stays in that office. I can't bring that at home, because if I bring that at home, then I'm not good at home. I'm not good at work. So the moment that roller door doesn't close properly for me is the moment that I probably walk away from this work.
Wow.
Probably good advice for teachers as well.
Yeah.
I mean, our stress would be nothing considered compared to what you go through, but still, it's an analogy for life.
You have to separate it. You cannot, especially the images and the horrific stuff that we see. And it's not only, we're not only dealing with child abuse matters, we're dealing with bestiality, and that is another new world that is available and that our investigators get exposed to.
So are they under your banner too?
Yes.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
Is it illegal for anyone to have that?
Yes.
So no matter who you are, adult, it's just...
Yeah.
And
there's been massive legislative changes for that as well. Yeah.
It's refreshing to know.
Yeah.
Yes. Why anyone would have it, I don't know.
Yeah.
Same thing with the child. Yeah, thank you so much for this. Really appreciate it.
Okay. I don't even know if we've gone through everything that we were meant to and everything I wrote down.
Oh, no, this is great information because it gives us tangible things for students to listen to, parents to listen to, and to realize that, child protection isn't a parent's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Like someone kidnapping your child.
Yeah.
It seems to be a little bit more sinister.
Yeah.
Like you said, inviting someone into your bedroom.
Yeah.
Because when we had you on, it was a question of, where will my child be kidnapped? When will someone grab them?
Yeah.
And what you mentioned seems to be a little bit scary by themselves in their bedroom.
Yeah. It's not the quintessential pedophile in a white van giving lollies to kids anymore. Like, that's not what we're worried about. We're worried about the next door neighbour. We're worried about the doctor. We're worried about anyone that's online. So there's not really a profile of what a pedophile looks like these days. They come in all shapes and forms and career choices and standing in society. So
you could say you've arrested every possible member of society.
There's one that I want to go after, which I won't mention, but there's one on my list.
Oh,
Your
wow.
list.
I can tell you off camera.
Looking forward to it.
And once you've got them, you can say, I've ticked off
done.
everyone.
Yeah.
It's time
I've
to
ticked
move
off
on.
everyone.
Yeah.
So good on.
I just want to thank you for all your amazing work. Like the police department themselves, but then people in those roles like yourself,
Thank you.
dealing with stuff that is our worst nightmares.
Yeah.
You know, thank you so much.
No, you're welcome.
Yeah,
And,
we are very grateful for what you do, and from the relative perspective, very proud as well.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much again. I'm Robert Naumoski.
And I'm Chris Kalodikis. Thank you very much. Thank you,
Thank you
Natalie.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.